This episode might be a little morbid, but I just been thinking about this podcast and just making music and just professional entertainment. And I don't know, I pressure myself into trying to be more than just good, more than just excellent, but great and amazing and knowledgeable and all these things. And that pressure, I think, sometimes might not even be worth its weight. I have this feeling that it's not so much that they're gifted and made to do a sort of thing. Actors, athletes, like majority of them, I don't think that's the case. I think they're just delusional enough. They put enough hours in where they land the opportunities and they do it, but I don't think they are exceptionally gifted, the average entertainer or athlete or whatever the case is. Because I even think about soccer. I'm not I mean, I play soccer and I've played soccer a lot of my life, but at my peak, at my best, I would watch people play and I like, especially MLS. I'm not dissing them or anything. It's just I remember going to live games and just watching like there's no way that these players, that their dads aren't donors or moms aren't donors, and that's how they got a spot on this team because they just weren't good. If you know anything about soccer, like or just sports in general, the level at which you get to it, athleticism only gets you so far and skill only gets you so far. It's about decision making. It's how fast you process what's going on around you for you to make the next move. At a certain point, it is intelligence. It's being ahead of the game. And that's what makes professionals, and that's what separates the level of professional athleticism that you get to. There isn't really levels of professional in terms of, NFL, because there's only one league. But soccer, at least in the US, there's like 5 or 6 or something. But I've seen amazing people that can dribble really well, can basically have the ball glued to their foot, but they just don't have the game knowledge, or they're predictable, or they become ineffective and this and that. Or you play 5-on-5, whatever, they score a lot because they're going to dribble. But if you were to play a full game, that it wouldn't make that much of a difference. Like you can be exceptional at it, and that's a whole other thing. For example, there's so many midfielders that are so good, mainly just because of their awareness, because they know what they're going to do with the ball before they even get it. Or strikers that are exceptional, they get in the right position, not because they're lucky, but because they read the whole game. They read the whole play before it happens, and they get to the right spot. I mean, it's actually funny, but there's an anime called Blue Lock, and that's like the guy's superpower or something. He can like sniff out goals or whatever. But that's essentially what it is. It becomes a game of chess. And what separates, a good player and a bad player in chess is how far can you think ahead. And that's what makes great athletes. So in basketball, when you're defending, they're coming at you. You're already thinking, oh, well, he dropped his shoulder and this and that. He's going to go in this direction or whatever the case is. I've heard Kobe talk about how, I think it was against KD, he hated playing against KD because KD was just, at the time, it's like, or maybe it was Kevin Garnett. I'm not sure, but it was something. And he was like, this guy would block me all the time and he would push me. He knew my weak sides and this and that. And Kobe would just train his weak side. And then he was, equally effective. And then that put more tools in his arsenal, which made him more unpredictable. And that would make him dangerous. And so my point being, these comedians, these actors that, they're making it, they make their money, they make a living, they do all this stuff. I wonder if it's just not what anyone could do if they just put the same amount of time and effort into it. But with me, it's just, I guess, because I've caught myself just watching so much podcasts recently and just listening to so many people talk. And I feel like nothing is new under the sun, you know? And there's just such a wave of like information coming out, and it's impossible to sift through and find gems because the haystack is just so big. Can't find the needle. And it's just discouraging for a guy who really tries to give quality. Now, whether I actually give that quality or not, I don't know. And I mean, I can say yes all I want, but I think, and this is kind of where it kind of gets weird. It's like I can think so, but if the numbers don't match that, is that arrogance? Is that not? I wonder if I can say that, and it's just due to the lack of exposure. But I was hearing somebody talk about how the numbers don't reflect the artistry, and I agree with that to a huge degree, mostly because, like, I mean, I've talked about it plenty, but just the commercialization of things, and especially in our culture today, things are just so mindless, and people don't really want to like think. They don't want to feel things. They're really just vegging out. There's a thought experiment, and the thought experiment goes: if I could put a feeding tube in you, put tubes so that you can use the restroom and this and that. Basically, you could sit in a chair, and you didn't have to leave the chair. Right? You're being fed and this and that. You didn't taste anything, but then I put basically your brain in virtual reality where you feel no suffering, no pain. Life is good, it's make believe though. Would you take it? And the guy who thought up of this experiment, I don't know if it was the 1800s, 1900s, whatever the case was, he would say, of course not, because it's not real. Fast forward 2024, and that's what we want, right? That's why people are addicted to TikTok, and that's why addictions exist. That's why people get so sucked into content, mindless content, because real life sucks and people don't want to live it. It's just interesting to me. I don't want to say certain words because I know it associates with other things, but it truly is some kind of matrix. And I don't, yeah, if even feels kind of icky saying that because I don't really want to associate myself with anything. But that idea of just being mind numbed and not wanting to live reality for what it is, or even think through things. I don't know. It's just so frustrating. It's doubly frustrating for me because I mean I did all the work. I've not that there's not more to be done, but there's just a point in my life where I just got tired, and I just thought, like, is this all life is? It kind of goes into my testimony, the foundation of my testimony, which it was funny because I always bring up different aspects about my testimony, but it was only like this weekend that I realized, like, oh wait, that's why I started going to church, or that's why I started believing in God and stuff, just because of this one thing. And that's because I didn't even pray this. It was a thought I had. Because when I was growing up, Christianity just seemed so natural, and it seemed so ordinary. And I don't mean that Christianity is like seeing people rise from the dead and bones being healed and all this stuff like miraculously all the time. But what I was saying is it just didn't seem different than any other lifestyle. It didn't seem different than just living, a righteous life, trying to do good by the world. It didn't seem like anything different than like optimistic nihilism. And so I just thought, like, if it's all the same, then why choose Christianity? There's way more fun ways to live life. If I were to have self-control and moderation, then women would maybe be the way to go, or even drugs or whatever the case is. It's just, living a normal life, a nihilistic life would be way more entertaining. But then I just met a group of people that were trying to live out the Bible as truthfully as they could, and that inspired me. Not only inspired me, but it showed me a better way, and it showed me a different way, and it just seems like society is stuck in that of, like, what's the point of anything? I feel like just doing nothing is such a waste of time, but I understand that. Well, that's what's crazy. It's like, if I'm not more capable than the person next to me, then if we're all equally capable, then we can do so much damage. We can do so much change. We can change so much in life if everyone just kind of, picked up their stone to put down, and we could create something beautiful. We can create a city that we can be proud of living in. Yet, I don't know if it stems from hopelessness, or a hopelessness in the sense of we can't change anything, or hopelessness in the sense that there's no direction to go in. There's no guidance, there's no leadership. Hopelessness in the sense that maybe the generations before us, they're hogging all the positions of power and they won't do anything with it. And so we're kind of just left with nothing. But yeah, that's about as morbid as it gets, I guess. Just the existential crisis of, I guess it's a quarter life crisis. I go back and forth and having this because I don't know, if I'm meant to do something, you would think you'd be special at it, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just the fact that you just like doing it, and that's that. I think the pressure for me just comes from like being miserable in the workforce and just desperately wanting to working in my passions. And I don't mean like fleshly passions. I just mean like just God-given passion. I don't know if it's even a long road. I don't see how it's possible for a guy like me, unknown, to get somewhere. Cause without the exposure, without it's without credibility, I guess. Without the credibility, and then with so much to pick from, like, why me? It just seems like a statistical improbability and almost hopeless. I don't know who gets in it for the love of it, because I can imagine people who want to be heard and want to be seen put in, 10 times the effort that I do in terms of learning, how to market themselves and this and that. Big Sean, I feel like, is going through this. He talked a little bit about, the big three and how he's not ever mentioned and this and that. I might be putting words in his mouth, but it just seems like he's not about that race because he honestly just doesn't have those daddy issues. He doesn't need to prove himself. So he has peace about the art that he puts out, and that's, enough for him. Like, it pays his bills, he's blessed, he's happy, and that's enough. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And it doesn't mean like someone that doesn't have nothing to prove doesn't mean that they're not going to be competitive, because you can be competitive for fun. I'm competitive for fun. People are like, oh, being competitive, you want a winner or a loser, like you must have some kind of complex. It's not necessarily about winning. It's just about just doing my best and proving to myself that achieving higher heights than I thought I could. And the best way to do that tangibly is to go against someone else, because if I'm just comparing myself to me, and I don't mean comparison, I guess that's the wrong word. If I'm competing against myself, then I'll give myself a break. But if I'm competing against someone else, then there's like a goal. There's somebody to beat. Could I beat myself in competition? Yeah, I guess. But that's just uninvolved. I don't know. I guess it just depends on the sport. But my point in all of that is just, I don't have that kind of motivation to be known like that. And I think that backfires, but also I guess maybe it'll come when it comes. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I just circle back. I'm sorry, I guess I'm just processing over this. Like, there objectively is validation in how good I am by the numbers. I can't see it any other way. Sure, I'm putting it out and that's a success within itself. But if I'm good at this, it should be the case that the numbers wouldn't lie. But, well, I mean, this kind of goes into a whole other thing that people pay for views. What do they used to call it for radios? You used to, I'm thinking Cibola, but it's onion. It's something like that. It's like you used to pay the radio to play your song. Oh, no, it's not Ebola. It's like payola. That's what it actually is, payola. So payola was a thing. You would pay to get your, that's crazy. You would pay to get your song on the radio, and you would get that. It would almost be, back in the day, if your song was on the radio, you were a big shot. You know, you were something to reckon with. But if you paid for it, then that's like you're cheating the system a little bit. I've had confirmations with people in the industry, not that I know them, but I just listen to them talk and they're open about it, that they do the same thing for they boost their numbers. So there's these farms. No, it's not farms. It's frick, dude. Names right now. Basically, they have a bunch of cell phones and iPads in a room. It almost looks like a 1960s computer, you know, how it took up the whole room. So they would have one of those, and they would all be playing the same song or whatever. When you would pay for the hour, the day, you know, multiple hours, whatever. That's what you would do to boost your numbers. And people have said that the industry does that with smaller artists to make them look bigger, look more famous, and this and that. I'm sure there's the same thing for YouTube videos. It's just all of it. It's skewed. It's skewed for big business. There's like this illusion of this accessibility, right? That anyone can make a beat and rap over it, and it's a thing. But that's not really true. I think even the smaller artists that we start hearing about, they must be industry plans. And not to say that, I mean, that might just, not, that could just be a lie. I might have messed up there. But my point being is just that we're still in competition, you know, with people that are cheating, essentially. Which is, yeah, it's a crazy thing. Maybe I'm being stubborn, and maybe I'm being, how do you say? Yeah, stubborn. Just straight up stubborn. I just refuse to pay for any kind of marketing help or, you know, anything like that. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. I think popularity in entertainment should be based on the quality that you give, not on anything else. I understand how some, let's say, talentless, quote unquote, people on TikTok and this and that, how they're making their money and how they become popular is their genius is understanding what people like and don't like and doing that. Sure, they're selling themselves in terms of their personality. Like, they don't have a personality and this and that because they've had to create a persona. Or, yeah, it's just, it ruins their own image, having to be super exciting. Even that minuscule change, having to be super exciting when that's not who you are, I think can take a toll on you. But that's what people are willing to do for fame. Yeah, I guess my envy comes out a little bit, which is ironic because I think some people would take that, look at me and think, wow, man, you have character and you're willing to stand for whatever. And I wish I didn't. I wish I could sell out, but I just don't have it in me. Which is why I don't think I'm better than anyone, because if I had it in me, I would in a heartbeat, but I don't. It's also kind of like a deal I've made with God, but just like I just pray for God. If this is really what I'm called to do, and this is the confirmation, is that I'm not going to pay for views. I'm not going to pay for it to reach more people. I'm not going to do any of that. But if it blows up, then I know. Which I kind of figure that because I don't pay even for reach, because that's something like on TikTok, for example, and anyone can do this. You can pay like $5 or whatever, and your video gets watched by like 5,000 more people. And so you would think, oh man, this video is actually really good. I know no one liked it or this and that, but I think it's hilarious. I think it's super intellectual, whatever the case is. But you boost that and you keep boosting it, and then it reaches the right people eventually. So you put $10, $15 on each video, and then your account goes from your 100 people or whatever, and you get to a couple thousand, and then those couple thousands, they start sharing with each other because, oh, this guy's popping, this and that. Because that's another thing, is like the perception, right? If you perceive that someone's popular, then you're gonna be unashamed to share it. But if it's like some nobody, you're like, I actually don't know. Even me, like, I don't watch video. Like, if I'm on YouTube Shorts, I don't watch videos that are less than like, couple 100,000. Yeah, like you need at least like 30,000 likes on a video for me to waste a minute watching, which is ridiculous if you really think about it. But there's just so much content. Again, I'm going in circles here. I guess I'm just trying to process. I get this way sometimes. But yeah, those are all the points, and I've circled through them a few times. But that's just the morbidity of how I'm feeling today. And it's okay, though. It's okay to not be okay. And life has its ups and down. That doesn't change anything about who I am, and doesn't change anything about how God sees me or anything. Just means that I'm in uncharted territory. That's all it means. And that's okay. I just pray for all of us that if we are feeling this kind of morbidity in whatever area, that we can just be firm in our faith, that we can give that to God, be honest, be vulnerable. I sound a lot more calm than maybe someone else would. Maybe even I would need to take some time to, yell in my car or something to really get it out there. Yeah, pray to God and let it out. Maybe he'll answer. Maybe he just will give you the peace and the comfort that you need for this moment.